take a moment to look at the beautiful people standing before you today who have spoken so eloquently about their humanity, about the humanity of their children. Work, Ashton. I stand before you today a proud Black transgender woman, and I stand before you and beside these incredible people, and I am reminded that trans is beautiful. I am reminded that trans is so beautiful. And I'm so honored to be here today because of the citizens of Massachusetts. In this great state, 2 years ago, you added public accommodations to the civil rights protections for transgender citizens of your great state. That was an amazing thing. That was something to celebrate. And here we are 2 years later defending that. It is a reminder to me that the fight is never done. That even when we think we have our rights, there are still people out there who want to take them away. But I stand here before you today and with these folks, and I don't know how someone can look at the humanity of these incredible people and say that they do not deserve the same rights as everybody else. They deserve the same rights as everybody else. And it's been stated today that Massachusetts has led the way time and time again, and you have the opportunity to do that once more by voting yes on 3. The New York Times published an article on Sunday that was based on a leaked memo from the current administration that stated that they want to basically attempt to legislate transgender people out of existence, create policies that redefine gender and sex so that transgender people will be cut out of the opportunities to have protection under the law. Massachusetts has an opportunity to send a message to this administration, has an opportunity to send a message to the rest of the country that this is not who we are as Americans, that this is not who we are as human beings, that we respect the humanity of everyone. These have been incredibly challenging times for so many of us, for so many reasons. And I gotta tell you, I've been struggling. I have a great therapist. And I really had to remind myself on a daily basis that I can choose love today and not fear. I can choose love today and not fear. The opponents of yes on 3 want to scare you. They want to create this mythology that if there are civil rights protections for trans people, that means that people will go rogue and people will not be safe, and it's insane, the arguments that they're creating. But they're trying to make you afraid. So many aspects of this current administration in the world are trying to make us afraid. But we can make a choice. We can choose love and not fear today. Fear, someone, a friend of mine said, it's false evidence appearing real. The reality, the lived experiences of real transgender people's lives are so much more valuable than the fear they want to put into you about who we really are. So I want to choose love today and not fear, and encourage each and every one of you to do that as well. I want to tell you a little story that I told last week when I was in San Francisco. The story is hard for me to tell. There was about 17 years ago, 3 years into my medical transition. I started transitioning about 20 years ago. About 17 years ago, I was living in New York City, and 3 years into my medical transition, every day that I left the house, I had to arm myself. Not literally, but emotionally, because I knew when I left the house that I was probably going to be harassed. I knew that the second I left my home that people would misgender me, call me a man, that as I walked down the street I wouldn't feel safe, that when I walked into the subway I wouldn't feel safe, when I walked into a bodega I probably would be laughed at and pointed at and treated as if I were not human. About 10 years ago, in my neighborhood in New York, in Midtown, I was kicked on the street when someone, a group of young men yelled anti-trans and anti-gay slurs. And there were many times in my life when I did feel safe. And 17 years ago, it was so hard. Here I was. I had finally decided who I was and accepted that I was a woman. I'd taken the steps to transition and live more authentically, and the world was not reflecting that back to me. And I was being harassed every single day, and I had just gotten to a point where it was too much. It was too much. So one day, I sat down and I typed up notes, little notes. And the note said, "My name is Laverne Cox, and I should not be referred to by any other name. My preferred pronouns are she and her, and I should not be referred to by any other pronouns. And my plan is I printed these notes up. I printed about 5 copies, and I would have a copy. My plan was to have a copy in each of my pockets, and then to have them placed around my apartment because I was planning to commit suicide. I was planning to kill myself. And when my body was found, I wanted to make sure that I would not be misgendered in my death. I wanted to make sure that I would not be dead named in my death, that the disrespect and the disregard for my identity that I was experiencing on a daily basis would not happen when I was dead. And I'm not entirely sure why I didn't commit suicide when I was thinking about doing it. 17 years ago, I started working with a new acting coach, and acting and performing has always been the thing that saved my life. And I'm so grateful that I decided not to try to take my life. I'm so grateful that I survived. And I've come to understand that I am here for a divine purpose. And I want every transgender person out there to know that you're here for a divine purpose. No matter what anybody says about you, that you are divine. You have a legacy of history. Do you know that in indigenous cultures all over the world, trans folks have existed for centuries and often have revered places in those cultures? And we were treated with respect, and only with colonialism, only with Western colonialism, were we marginalized and pushed to be sort of ostracized and treated as second-class citizens. I want you to claim your rightful place as being anointed, magical human beings. Claim that space, and I see you claiming that space now. I want you to know that you're here for a divine purpose, and so many of you are fulfilling that purpose today. We are each here for a divine purpose, and I think that purpose is for us to stand with each other, no matter who we are, where we come from, what our gender identity is, what our race or ethnicity is, what our immigration status is, or ability. We have a divine purpose to show the world that we can believe in the humanity of each other. So I hope you will vote yes on 3. Tell all your friends, family, neighbors to vote yes on 3. Send the message that you believe in each other, that you believe in the humanity of your fellow citizens. Send that message to our current administration. Send that message around the world, and we can change the world with love. Thank you.